There is a certain strength in silence, in the way a person holds back their first impulse to react when hurt. Many people believe that strength is about shouting louder, fighting harder, or striking back with equal intensity. But real strength, the kind that leaves a lasting impact, is rooted in composure. When someone hurts you, they often expect an immediate reaction. They expect anger, raised voices, or tears. They are prepared for chaos, because chaos is the language of conflict. But when you choose calmness, when you choose to pause before responding, you shift the entire balance of power. In that moment, you are no longer at the mercy of someone else's actions. You are in control of yourself, and that control is where true power lies. Composure doesn't mean you are unaffected. It doesn't mean the words or actions of others don't pierce your heart. It simply means you refuse to give that person the satisfaction of controlling your emotions. When you can breathe through the sting, you create a space between stimulus and response. In that space, clarity lives, and clarity is what allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Many people confuse composure with weakness, but it is in fact the complete opposite. It is far easier to lose your temper than it is to remain calm in the face of insult or betrayal. It takes discipline to maintain peace when provoked, and that discipline becomes a shield that protects your dignity. Alongside composure comes the need for boundaries. Boundaries are not walls designed to keep people out. They are gates that allow the right people in and filter out what is harmful. Too often, people tolerate mistreatment because they fear being seen as rude, selfish, or unkind. But boundaries are acts of self-respect. When someone repeatedly hurts you, it is not only your right but your responsibility to protect yourself. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your mind, your time, or your emotions. Allowing someone to cross your boundaries unchecked only teaches them that their behavior is acceptable. Boundaries, therefore, are not just about protecting yourself in the present. They are about teaching others how to treat you in the future. Imagine a garden. Without a fence, anything can wander in and trample the flowers. But with a well-built boundary, the garden is protected, and the beauty inside has the chance to flourish. Your peace of mind is that garden. Boundaries are the fence. Without them, anyone can invade your space and destroy your sense of security. But with them, you create an environment where growth, joy, and strength can thrive. Setting boundaries may be uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to pleasing others. People may accuse you of being distant or cold, but in reality, those who truly care about you will respect your limits. It is only those who benefit from your lack of boundaries who will complain when you finally establish them. Composure and boundaries go hand in hand. Composure is about managing your inner world, while boundaries are about shaping your outer world. Together, they form a shield that keeps your peace intact. When you are composed, you can think clearly about which boundaries you need. When you have boundaries, it becomes easier to remain composed because you have minimized the opportunities for harm. They are two sides of the same coin, both essential for protecting your peace. There will always be people who misunderstand your calmness. They will believe you are silent because you are weak. But silence should never be mistaken for surrender. Silence is a choice. It is the choice to value your peace over pointless battles. Not every fight is worth your energy. Not every insult deserves a reply. Sometimes the greatest response is no response at all. By walking away, you show that your time and your peace are too valuable to waste on those who seek to harm you. It is also important to understand that boundaries are not just physical or external. They exist within the mind as well. Mental boundaries protect you from replaying hurtful words in your head, from internalizing the cruelty of others. Just because someone says something about you does not mean it is true. The boundary of the mind is the ability to separate another's opinion from your identity. When you learn to say, "That is their perspective, not my reality," you guard your inner peace from being poisoned by external negativity. There will be moments where composure feels almost impossible. The urge to lash out will be overwhelming. In those moments, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Ask yourself, if I respond with anger, will I feel proud of my actions tomorrow? Will I look back and see strength? Or will I regret letting someone else's behavior dictate my own? Most often, the regret comes not from the harm done to us, but from how we allowed that harm to push us into actions we later wish we hadn't taken. Choosing composure in those critical moments spares you that regret. It preserves your integrity, even when others have lost theirs. Similarly, setting boundaries is not always easy. It requires difficult conversations. It requires saying no, when every part of you wants to avoid conflict by saying yes. It requires walking away from relationships that may have once brought joy, but now only bring pain. But with each boundary you establish, you reclaim a part of yourself that was being drained. You reclaim your time, your energy, and your emotional space. Boundaries are not about keeping love out. They are about ensuring the love that enters your life is healthy and nourishing. The ability to protect your peace through composure and boundaries is one of the most valuable skills you can ever develop. It is not a one-time decision but a lifelong practice. Every day, you will face moments that test your patience, your resilience, and your self-worth. Every day, you will have to choose whether to allow someone's words or actions to disturb your peace, or whether to rise above with calmness. Every day, you will have to decide how much access to give to those around you, and how firmly you must hold your boundaries. Over time, you will find that people respect those who carry themselves with quiet strength. They respect those who know when to speak and when to remain silent. They respect those who can stand firm without being aggressive, and even if they do not respect it, they cannot deny the power of it. Composure disarms aggressors. Boundaries repel manipulators. Together, they make you unshakable. Ultimately, protecting your peace is not about shutting out the world or living in isolation. It is about living with intention. It is about choosing carefully what you allow into your life, and choosing wisely how you respond to what happens around you. It is about valuing your inner world so deeply that you refuse to let anyone else dictate it. Composure allows you to guard your emotions in the heat of the moment. Boundaries ensure that you do not continually expose yourself to unnecessary harm. And when you live by both, you create a life where your peace is not at the mercy of others, but securely in your own hands. Pain is one of life's most powerful teachers. Every person experiences it in different forms. Betrayal, disappointment, loss, rejection, criticism, or even the sting of indifference. Though we try to avoid it, pain is inevitable. What separates those who rise from those who fall is not whether they experience hurt, but how they choose to handle it. The truth is, pain can either become a prison or a ladder. It can hold you captive in bitterness and self-pity, or it can elevate you into resilience, wisdom, and strength. The choice is always yours, and that choice determines whether pain will destroy you or transform you. When someone wounds you, the first instinct is to focus entirely on the hurt itself. The mind replays the moment, the words, the betrayal. You may ask yourself again and again, why me? How could they? What did I do to deserve this? These questions are natural, but they rarely lead to healing. They keep you stuck in the wound. Growth begins only when you shift your focus from the pain itself to what that pain can teach you. It is not about denying the hurt or pretending it doesn't exist. It is about allowing it to serve as a mirror that reveals truths about yourself and about life that you might not have seen otherwise. Consider how the strongest muscles are built. They do not grow in comfort. They grow by being torn, stretched, and pushed beyond their limit. The same is true for the heart and the spirit. Pain stretches you. It breaks you down, but in the breaking, it opens the door for rebuilding. And when you rebuild, you do so with a deeper awareness of who you are and what you are capable of. Every scar carries a story, not just of suffering, but of survival. Every wound that heals leaves behind a reminder that you are still standing, stronger than before. Many people allow pain to harden them. They become bitter, distrustful, and closed off to the world. They believe that if they close their hearts, they will avoid being hurt again, but this approach is like sealing a seed in a box to keep it safe. It may be protected, but it will never grow. Growth requires vulnerability. It requires allowing yourself to feel pain, to process it, and to rise from it. When you use your pain as a teacher, you do not become harder, you become wiser. You learn to see red flags you once ignored. You learn to listen more closely to your instincts. You learn to value yourself more deeply because you have seen how fragile life can be. There is also a hidden beauty in the lessons pain delivers. It teaches empathy. When you have suffered, you gain a sensitivity to the suffering of others. You recognize the silent battles people carry because you have carried your own. That empathy becomes a gift, one that allows you to connect with others in a deeper way. You are able to offer comfort not from theory, but from experience. Your scars allow you to become a source of healing for those still bleeding. What once hurt you can, if transformed, become the very thing that helps someone else. Another aspect of growth through pain is the discovery of resilience. Before being hurt, you may have believed that certain losses would break you completely, but when they came, you discovered that you are stronger than you imagined. Resilience is not built in easy times. It is born in the moments when you thought you could not go on, but did anyway. Pain pushes you to dig into parts of yourself you did not know existed. It forces you to develop strength you might never have built otherwise. What once felt like an unbearable burden becomes proof of your endurance. There will always be people who use pain as an excuse to stay down. They point to what was done to them as justification for their anger, their bitterness, or their lack of growth. But the truth is, no one has the power to keep you broken unless you hand it to them. Pain may knock you down, but you decide how long you stay there. Transforming pain into growth requires refusing to let the one who hurt you continue to control your future. Every time you rise, you reclaim your power. Every time you choose growth instead of resentment, you take back the pen and write your own story instead of letting your pain write it for you. It is not easy. Transformation is a process. Growth through pain often requires solitude, reflection, and patience. There will be days when the wound feels fresh, when the memory returns, and when bitterness tries to creep back in. That is natural. Healing is not linear, but if you remain committed to the idea that pain must serve you, you will find that even the darkest seasons produce fruit. The disappointment that crushed you may be the very thing that teaches you patience. The betrayal that broke you may be the thing that teaches you self-respect. The rejection that shattered your confidence may be the thing that forces you to find worth within yourself rather than in the approval of others. There is also freedom in realizing that pain strips away illusions. When someone hurts you, it reveals their true nature. It shows you who deserves a place in your life and who does not. Pain is often the most honest filter life can give you. It clears away false friends, shallow relationships, and empty promises. In the moment, this feels devastating, but in time, you see that it was a gift. By removing what was never meant for you, pain creates space for what truly belongs. Transformation comes when you recognize that the loss was not a punishment, but a redirection. Some of the greatest achievements, inventions, and works of art in history were born out of pain. People have turned heartbreak into music, grief into poetry, and rejection into innovation. Pain sharpens perspective and ignites creativity. It forces you to dig deep and find meaning in what feels meaningless. And when you create from that place, your work carries authenticity and depth that cannot be faked. Pain, when transformed, not only helps you grow but also allows you to leave something meaningful behind for others. One of the most empowering realizations is that growth through pain does not require the one who hurt you to apologize or make amends. Your growth is not dependent on their recognition of the damage they caused. It is entirely your own journey. Waiting for someone else to validate your pain only keeps you trapped in it, but when you take responsibility for your healing, you step into freedom. You no longer need closure from them, because you create closure within yourself. You no longer wait for them to give you peace, because you choose peace for yourself. This transformation also requires a change in perspective. Instead of asking why something painful happened, begin to ask what it is teaching you. Instead of focusing on the wound, focus on the wisdom it offers. This shift does not erase the pain, but it reframes it. You begin to see that every experience, even the ones that cut the deepest, has the potential to add something valuable to your life. You begin to trust that growth is hidden even in the darkest places. Perhaps the most important aspect of transforming pain into growth is acceptance. Not acceptance of what was done to you, but acceptance that it happened. Resisting reality only prolongs suffering. Acceptance allows you to release the grip of what if and why me, and instead focus on what now. That question, what now, is the doorway to growth. It shifts your energy from dwelling on the past to building the future, and with each step forward, you transform pain into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Over time, you may even reach a point where you can look back on the pain with gratitude. Gratitude not for the suffering itself, but for the strength, wisdom, and clarity it gave you. Gratitude for the way it forced you to grow in ways you never would have chosen on your own. Gratitude for the resilience it built, the empathy it awakened, and the perspective it sharpened. This gratitude is the final stage of transformation, the moment when pain no longer feels like a curse, but like a sculptor that shaped you into a stronger version of yourself. Pain is universal, but growth is optional. The same fire that melts wax hardens clay. The same storm that uproots a weak tree strengthens the roots of one that is deeply grounded. The difference is in how you choose to face it. If you allow pain to harden your heart, it will keep you stuck in cycles of bitterness. But if you choose to see it as a teacher, it will refine you, shape you, and prepare you for the life ahead. In this way, every painful experience becomes not just a memory of suffering, but a stepping stone toward your highest potential. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood acts of strength. To many, it seems like letting someone off the hook, as though forgiving means saying what they did was acceptable, or that it did not hurt. That is why so many resist it. They hold on tightly to resentment, believing it protects them, believing that the bitterness is proof of the pain they endured. But forgiveness has never been about the other person. It is not about excusing their actions or erasing the past. Forgiveness is about releasing yourself from the chains of anger and bitterness that weigh you down long after the moment of hurt has passed. It is about choosing peace for yourself even if the person who hurt you never changes. When someone causes you pain, the wound is not just in the moment. It lingers in the mind, their words echo, their betrayal repeats itself every time you remember. Each recollection reopens the wound, and every time you replay it, you bleed again. Without forgiveness, you carry that wound everywhere you go. You may not see it, but it shapes your thoughts, your relationships, and your outlook on life. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to suffer. The truth is, it hurts you more than it ever hurts them. Forgiveness is the antidote to that poison, a way of cleansing your own heart so you can move forward unburdened. The act of forgiving does not mean forgetting. Forgetting is impossible, and in some cases, it would be dangerous because you need to remember lessons learned. Forgiveness is not erasure, it is transformation. It takes the memory of pain and removes its power to control your emotions. You can remember without reliving, you can acknowledge what happened without letting it dictate your future. This separation between memory and emotional captivity is the essence of forgiveness. There is also a misconception that forgiveness requires reconciliation. It does not. Forgiveness can be silent and personal, an act that happens within your heart without ever involving the other person. You do not need their apology to let go. You do not need them to admit their wrongdoing to find peace. If you wait for them, you place your healing in their hands, and that gives them continued power over you. But when you choose forgiveness on your own, you reclaim that power. You declare that your peace is not dependent on anyone else's actions or remorse. Forgiveness is not a single decision, it is often a process. Some wounds run deep, and letting go may take time. You may forgive one day and feel the bitterness return the next. That is natural. It does not mean you have failed, it means healing is still in progress. Each time you choose forgiveness again, you weaken the hold that pain has on you. With persistence, the resentment that once consumed you gradually loses its grip, until one day you realize it no longer defines you. One of the most freeing aspects of forgiveness is how it lightens the spirit. Carrying anger is heavy. It exhausts you, even if you do not realize it. It colors your perspective, makes you suspicious, and clouds your joy. Forgiveness lifts that weight. It allows you to laugh again, to trust again, to see beauty without the filter of past pain. It creates space in your heart for new experiences, healthier relationships, and genuine happiness. Without forgiveness, the pain of yesterday becomes the prison of today. With forgiveness, you break free. There is also a profound humility in forgiveness. It acknowledges that all humans are flawed, including yourself. At some point, knowingly or unknowingly, you too have hurt others, perhaps not in the same way, but still in ways that left scars. Recognizing this shared humanity does not excuse what others have done to you, but it does remind you that we are all navigating life imperfectly. Forgiveness flows more easily when you accept that pain is part of the human condition, and that holding on to it does not undo it. Sometimes, forgiveness requires reframing the way you see the one who hurt you. Often, people act out of their own brokenness, insecurity, or ignorance. Understanding this does not justify their behavior, but it helps you see that their actions were more about them than about you. Hurt people hurt people. When you grasp this truth, you stop internalizing their cruelty as a reflection of your worth. You see it instead as a reflection of their struggles. That shift makes forgiveness more attainable, because you are no longer tying your identity to their actions. It is important to note that forgiveness does not mean returning to toxic situations. You can forgive and still walk away. You can forgive and still set firm boundaries. Forgiveness does not require allowing the person who hurt you back into your life. It simply means you no longer carry the bitterness of what they did. You can release the anger while still protecting your peace. In fact, true forgiveness often works best when combined with wisdom. Wisdom that ensures you do not continue to expose yourself to harm. The beauty of forgiveness is that it transforms pain into power. Instead of being defined by the wrongs done to you, you are defined by your ability to rise above them. You no longer live as a victim of your circumstances, but as the author of your response. That shift in perspective is liberating. It allows you to reclaim your narrative and redefine your story on your own terms. No longer is your identity tied to the actions of another. It is tied to your decision to heal, to grow, and to move forward. Forgiveness also strengthens relationships, not necessarily with the one who hurt you, but with others. When you carry resentment, it seeps into the way you treat people who had nothing to do with your pain. It makes you cautious, defensive, and closed off. By forgiving, you prevent the cycle of hurt from spreading into new connections. You show up in relationships without the baggage of old wounds. You give others the chance to love you without competing against ghosts of the past. Forgiveness clears the path for healthier bonds, because it keeps your heart open rather than guarded by anger. On a deeper level, forgiveness nurtures inner peace. Resentment creates conflict inside you. It keeps your thoughts noisy and unsettled, but forgiveness quiets that storm. It brings stillness to the mind and calm to the heart. It allows you to look at the past without being pulled back into it. That peace is priceless. It is the kind of peace that radiates outward, affecting every area of your life. You sleep better, you think clearer, you find joy in small things again. Forgiveness, then, is not only emotional but also physical and spiritual healing. Sometimes people believe that by forgiving, they are letting the other person win, but the opposite is true. The one who wins is the one who refuses to be defined by anger. The one who wins is the one who can walk away without hatred, carrying lessons instead of bitterness. By forgiving, you show that the actions may have hurt you, but they did not break you. They may have wounded you, but they did not steal your capacity for love, hope, and joy. That is victory. It is also worth considering that forgiveness does not always come with a dramatic emotional release. Sometimes it is quiet, subtle, almost invisible. It may feel like nothing at first, but over time, you notice the difference. You notice that you no longer tense up when you hear their name. You notice that you no longer replay the moment in your head. You notice that the anger has faded into neutrality. That is forgiveness at work, not in a flash of emotion, but in the gradual softening of a hardened heart. Every act of forgiveness adds to your freedom. The more you let go, the lighter you become, and in that lightness, you find space for growth, creativity, and love. Forgiveness is not about erasing the past, but about reclaiming the present. It ensures that yesterday's wounds do not rob you of today's opportunities. It gives you back your future, unshackled from bitterness. Ultimately, forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. The person who hurt you may never know you forgave them. They may never apologize, never change, never even care. But that is irrelevant. Forgiveness is not about them. It is about you choosing freedom over bondage, peace over turmoil, healing over hatred. It is about saying, I will not let your actions control my life any longer. I release you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace.